Take a look at this ancient Chinese pottery, close to 7,000 or 8,000 years old. They were all made using the coil technique. In this video, I will show you how to use the coil technique to build a vessel similar to this. So the coil technique, I'll give each of you a block of clay to get started with today. Take a chunk off and start to squeeze it and pinch it like this to make it longer. Not letting any one part get too skinny. If it does, you might like snap it in half. If that happens, that is okay. Try to get it down and then start to roll it. I always use my fingers. I don't use really my palms on it. As you roll, you're looking for areas that are a little bit thicker. Like right here, it's a little bit thicker. So I'm going to concentrate here. And every time you roll, you want this to get a little bit longer and longer and longer. To get it longer as you roll, your fingers and your hands start to move outward as you do this. It doesn't take much pressure. I'm trying to avoid getting my finger grooves inside of it. So if you keep moving your hands back and forth, that will help. You might start getting a flat pad like this. This is getting flattened out. If that happens, just turn it back up, get it back into a square, roll it out. So try to make it as long as you can. You don't have to set a record. If you get it as long as the board, that's great. If it gets a little flat, that's not that big of a deal. So this is like a little bit thicker than a pencil, a little bit thinner than a Crayola marker, tiny bit thinner than a Sharpie. So if it breaks in half, again, it's not that big of a deal because you can piece these together. So I'm happy with this right here. I may actually just pinch this off. I'll roll this a little bit thinner later. So I'm going to take this and to start building the bottom of a piece, I'm just going to spiral like so. Stop calling out, thank you. So this first piece got me a nice base. This is a pretty good size. I'm just going to like round that off a little bit. To make it a little bit stronger and then smoother on the bottom, I'm going to do this. This kind of gets rid of the coils. It makes it smoother. It also makes it a lot stronger. And it's something that you kind of continue doing as you build with the coil technique. Those pieces I showed you, they were all built using coil technique, but in the end, you can't see the coils. So here's piece number one, the bottom. Swipe left, swipe right. The original version. So now I have this base that I can build on. I'll take this piece here, roll this out a little bit skinnier. Got a little bit flattened out, that's okay. So once you build a base, the next step is taking the base. I'm now going to put the next coil directly on top of this. This first part here, where it touches, I'm going to kind of ramp this down a little bit because I'm going to go right over top of it with the next coil. And just keep following that. Right now I'm kind of going directly on top of this. If I keep going directly on top, I will essentially start to build a cylinder shape. As you start to build with the coil technique too, think about using it for food, think about making it stronger. It has to be smoother. So on the inside, before it gets too tall, I'm going to use my fingertips like this and sort of work these coils down a little bit. If you don't do this, you'll be able to see the coils. It's not that big of a deal. It'll increase the chances of it falling apart though if you don't pack the coils down and smooth them down. So for the inside of it, definitely do this because it sort of seals the bottom. Think about any cup or bowl you've ever used. The inside of it's perfectly smooth. It's made that way for a reason because if you want to eat out of it, if you want to clean it and reuse it over and over again, well, make it smooth. That's how it's been done for years. And the outside of it too, you could keep the coil shapes there, but if you want to smooth it out, it's the same thing. You would just smooth like this on the outside of it. As you're working, think about, do I want this to sort of like flare outwards like a bowl? Do I want it to kind of come straight up in the air like a cylinder? Do I want to make it kind of come out and then back in like a jar? There's lots of ways to do it. It is very hard to control. A lot of times when you're using this, the clay sort of tells you what to do. It's hard to control it to get it to do exactly what you want it to do, but it's also fun to try. My next coil that I make, I'll start it right here and just keep continuing going on and on, trying to keep it like level as I build up. If I have a little gap right here, see how that's pretty like uneven in that area? I could just make like a little coil quickly and sort of like piece it in just to level it off and then continue building from there. You can start with it today. We'll probably get about this far because it's a big setup and a big cleanup every day, but we got 3 days to work on it. As you start this project, I'll have a couple of bags like this out with clay already pre-cut into blocks. They can be placed out here for students to grab. Have them grab just one block to take back to their table to start working on this project. Grab one of these boards to work on today. Start to clean up with 8 minutes left in class. All of your pottery will get onto one of these shelves. At the end of class, all pottery will be wrapped up inside of a plastic bag. Try to get all the air out of it and wrap it up in plastic. Use a Sharpie to write your name onto it. And for colors, try to get the color of your table as your bag. Over here, red and pink tables, so you use the red and pinkish ones. Light blue and regular blue, use blue. Orange and white table, use a white bag. Wrap them up and put it on your shelf. Here's an example of 3AN. Note for the teacher, the cart can be turned around to get to 5th grade work. Any unused clay at the end of the class can be tossed back into the bucket. Don't throw it in a big ball. Try to tear it up into smaller pieces and put them in the bucket. And then you'll spray just a little bit of water on top, maybe like 20 spritzes to rehydrate the clay. 3rd grade, when you're finished, I need these boards to be wiped down on both sides with a damp rag, and those can go back on this drying rack over here. Also, in between classes, we should wipe down each table. 3rd grade, you're the last class. I want you to put all the chairs up once everything's wiped down, and then any of the rags, just lie them flat over the edge of the table like this so they can dry for tomorrow. To wipe down the tables, throw some rags into this bucket, fill it with warm water, squeeze them out, pass them out around the room for students to wipe down tables. And 3rd grade, I need you to wipe down the clay boards.